Happy New Year, guys, and I have to start off the year with a confession. I've never seen The Matrix before. I'm not talking about the new one, I'm talking about the one from 1999, directed by the Wazowski sisters and starring Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss. Obviously I've heard of it, and I knew the general concept going in, but I never got around to seeing it, except for like tiny little fragment scenes when my dad was watching it in the living room. Besides that, I really didn't really know much about The Matrix, besides who was in it. So, when it came back to theaters to promote the new Matrix, because they brought back the 90s one, I thought, if I was ever going to see this movie, I might as well see it now. And yeah, I was not disappointed. This movie was fucking awesome. So it opens in a very mysterious way. There's this woman being chased by guards, and like she has superpowers, and they're like trying to run her over, and she gets a phone out of a phone box and disappears. And you're like, wow, that's very strange. It perfectly sets up a mystery for the rest of the movie by giving us a scene that at first appears to be nonsense, and then they later delve into how it makes sense. It's really cool because the exposition in this movie is very well handled. It's basically giving you stuff on a need to know basis, which I really respect about this movie. So, we cut to our main character, Neo, aka Thomas Anderson, played by Keanu Reeves, and he's like a computer programmer who's he senses that something about his world is off, something about his reality is not quite right, and he's I don't know, he's hacking online, and there's these phrases called the Matrix, and Trinity from the beginning of the movie sees you gotta see this man named Morpheus, who's played by Lawrence Fishburne. I actually think Morpheus is my favorite character in the movie because of how I don't know, kind of how mysterious he is. It's kind of cool. So we have Hugo Weaving is this evil government agent, and they track down where Neo works, and he has to Neo has to try to escape without them seeing him, and Morpheus is like, "You got to jump out the window, dude," and he's like, "I'm not doing that," because he'd die. Uh, so allows himself to get captured by them, and they're like, "So we need you to help us find Morpheus because he's a terrorist." And Neil's like, "No, I don't know what you guys are talking about." So Hugo Weaving he fuses his mouth shut like that shitty episode of Doctor Who where Rose mouth gets it disappears or something. I'll cover that in a little video, by the way. And they put this robot in his stomach, and Neo is he thinks he's having a nightmare, but Trinity's like, no, no, see, there's a bug inside of you. You weren't having a nightmare. This actually happened. And Neo meets Morpheus face to face, and Morpheus offers Neo to take a red pill or a blue pill. Yada yada yada. He takes the red pill. So what I like about the scene is that, and you could see in Morpheus's sunglasses, one side of them shows Neo looking at the blue pill, and the other one shows him looking at the red pill. I think the Wazowskis are very good at they're very good at um, interesting shots. They make use of their. I don't know. It reminds me a lot of a noir movie, or like a neo noir movie, I guess. Very kind of dark and ambient movie, but also has a lot of action. I don't know. I really like the style of it. So Neo goes on this 2001 Space Odyssey shit where he turns into a baby, and then he hatches out of this thing, and he's brought on the Morpheus' spaceship. And this entire movie, Neo doesn't really react much to the stuff going around him, which I first thought was not realistic. But then my therapist pointed out that, like, well, some people underreact to things as a way to cope with their surroundings. So when you look at it at that angle, it actually makes a lot more sense. Which is why I'm glad I filmed this video quite a few days after I watched the movie. So Neo's like bald now for some reason, and Morpheus is like, so there's this war that broke out between the humans and the Cylons. I don't remember what the AI is called, so I'm just gonna call them the Cylons. And yeah, so the Cylons basically capsuled humans and was like harvesting the power, and the minds, meanwhile, are stuck in the Matrix, which is conveniently set in 1999, which is the year the movie came about. Which is actually, in retrospect, a very interesting choice because, I don't know, it was kind of like right before the world started changing, the cusp of the 20th century. It's kind of before cell phones became a huge thing, and 9/11 kind of changed the state of the world. So even though that wasn't really the movie's intention, I think it works really well in retrospect to keep the simulation in 1999. But basically, the Cylons run the war, and the humans are like hiding out in this underground city. And Morpheus is trying to like unplug. He's like him and his friends are going into the Matrix to unplug people who are in the Matrix and bring them back to the real world. And since the Matrix isn't real life, they're able to do all these like supernatural shit. Like I don't know. They have all these like super strength, super agility. They're very fast and strong, and yeah, like you could digitally implant like learning how to do karate into your brain. It's really cool. Um, but Morpheus is like, if you die in the Matrix, you die in reality. And Hugo Weaving and the other agents are trying to kill you to keep the Matrix intact. Which I think is cool. It raises the stakes. A very well plotted movie, I gotta say. And Neo is very powerful in the Matrix with his training. So Morpheus thinks he's like the chosen one, the one to save humanity and bring balance to the world. Kind of like the Avatar or Luke Skywalker. You know the chosen one, Frodo. You know, though I think Sam's the chosen one technically. So throughout the first half of the movie, there's kind of like foreshadowing to this prophet called the Oracle, and I was thinking like, ooh, this lady's gonna be crazy and super powerful, but they kind of twist our expectations in a way where you meet her and she's just some normal lady, which I like. It's a nice twist, plays in expectations, but doesn't ruin anything that came before it. Doctor Who. So she's like, sorry, Neo, you're not the one, and also, either you're gonna die or Morpheus is gonna die. And before they leave the Matrix, after visiting the Oracle, Hugo Weaving and his minions ambush the group, and the guy from The Sopranos, who played Ralphie in The Sopranos, he was working with Morpheus, but he wants to go back into the Matrix, but you can't lose your memories of the real world. He'd rather just stay in the Matrix. So he makes a deal with Hugo Weaving to betray everybody else and tell them where they are, so he could go back to the Matrix and live comfortably. So Morpheus is trying to buy time to save everybody else, and he's capsuled. So Cypher, who the guy from The Sopranos, he enters the Matrix and pretty much kills everybody who's not a main character, conveniently leaving everybody we've actually become emotionally attached to. So this guy, like, before he kills the main characters, this other crew member kind of comes out of nowhere and kills Cypher, and then takes Neo and Trinity out of the Matrix. And it's very, like, inconvenient that he just wakes up at that exact same time. Like, if he woke up, like, 30 seconds ago, those two other characters would still be alive, even though they're not main characters. So I don't really feel much when they died, but, like, you know, It is very convenient that the only people who survived were the main characters. That's all I'm saying. So the agents are trying to get information out of Morpheus, but he's not really budging. And Neo's like, "Okay, we gotta come back to the Matrix and save him, because the Oracle told me to." And Trinity's like, "Well, I'm coming with you, cause I love you." So they rescue Morpheus, and Neo like does this really cool martial arts shit. It's very like well filmed. I love the action scenes in this movie because even though they were filmed over 20 years ago, they work today. As opposed to the Phantom Menace, which also came out in that year, whose effects look awful today. I think this is because The Matrix makes better use of their budget because they know their limits, so they know how to work within those limits. While the Phantom Menace, which like I said came out the same year, was too ambitious for its own good, in my opinion. That's just me though. So Morpheus and Trinity are leaving the Matrix. They're able to leave, but Smith kind of like he appeals and he fights Neo and he kills him. But Trinity's like, "No, I love you, Neo," because I guess he loves him now. Which is one of my only flaws with this movie, is because like we don't really have a reason for her to love him because they just met like a week ago. I feel like this is a common trope in movies where the romance is rushed way too fast because prior to this they had a few scenes together, but not really like any sort of connection between them besides the fact that they're kind of like in this together. But you know, fuck it, she loves him now, so that's cool. And she's like, "The Oracle told me I would fall in love with the chosen one." So Neo is revived, and he's able to like control the Matrix now. So he's able to defeat Smith in this epic battle. Also, they're like wearing sunglasses and leather jackets, and it's really cool looking. They look like badasses, and he's able to pick up the phone and leave the Matrix, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. He's able to like go back into the Matrix, and he's like, "Listen, Matrix, I'm gonna show the world that this isn't the right world, and I'm gonna show your prisoners a world where anything is possible." And he fucking flies away, and that's it. So, like I said, this movie was fucking awesome. I loved it. Uh, Keanu Reeves wasn't really the best actor. I feel like I don't know, but he has a certain charm to him that I like. Carrie-Anne Moss is really good in the role. I mean, she's I don't know, very good looking. But besides that, I feel like the Trinity character was a good example of a strong female character. I think she has flaws, which makes every character interesting, but she's also a badass, and she's just as competent as Neo. It's cool. Morpheus, like I said, is my favorite because he's mysterious, and I like Lawrence Fishburne's portrayal. The directing is very solid. Like they're able to like have cool action scenes, or also have slower scenes at the same time. It's kind of a more action-oriented version of Blade Runner, which is what it kind of looks like in my opinion. I don't know if it's as good as Blade Runner. That's to be debated. I might have to see this movie a couple more times to compare them. But yeah, overall, very solid movie. I think it's one of the best movies I saw in theaters this year. Um, just really good movie. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.